thing that we are doing now, and all the credit goes to Alan. This is going to be called 451 Throw-ins. And this is the first episode of 451's Throw-ins with the actual name. Jaime and Garrett did another one the other day, but who cares? It was them and this is us. So,
Yeah,
Alan, how you doing? How you doing tonight, Alan?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. And speaking of that Benedict Arnold Garrett,
Mhm.
we could have done a full show tonight, but Garrett was too busy not only watching wrestling but appearing on another podcast.
Oh,
And it's not just
spurned.
any podcast. Not just any podcast, Alan. It was a Rhode Island fan podcast. So
Wait, they have a podcast?
they do have a
Uh,
podcast. Yeah, they
well done, I guess.
you've been around for what, 6 months and you get a podcast, right?
I remember. I'm old enough to know when we had three podcasts.
Yeah, we Detroit City, used to have three different podcasts, and now I guess we're the lone survivors of that now. So
I,
um what the hell is this? That's somebody in the chat right now.
Hi, Jared.
Well, Jared, we just explained it when we came on, so I'm not going to track back and re-explain things again for you. You can go back and listen to the replay of this whenever it's up.
Very
Um,
illuminating.
but speaking of streams and everything like that, Alan, that Kazoo stream last
Oh,
night.
you
The
know,
more things, some things never change, right?
you can count on it. You can count on there being a completely useless stream coming from Kalamazoo FC.
I don't understand it. They've been doing this for a while. They've been doing this for a while. Kalamazoo, it's not like there's some new, club that just, popped into the scene here, this past year or anything like that. They've been around for a while. They've had streams before, and every single year they are complete and utter bullshit. Um, I remember last year's stream, women's match, obviously, because the men don't play Kalamazoo anymore. But I think correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but Kenna White had a penalty within like the first like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. And I remember the stream was so screwed up that it kept on going back. It kept on tracking back. So if you missed the Kenna White um, penalty, you got to watch it over and over and over and over again. It just kept on doing it. I don't know if it did that for you or if you tuned into the stream last year
I
between
I think I was actually at that game,
oh, were you there? Yeah, I
and
think
I remember seeing that people were completely vexated by the stream, and of course I was watching it, so I just like, oh wow, that sucks. But
I think I remember you saying you were there last year. I'm sorry, go ahead.
but like every other time, tried to see a stream, but last night was like a different way of being bad. It was choppy in the most unusual way I've seen. It was almost like a series of screenshots, just like over and over and over again. And but I think at a certain point, quite late in the game, they kind of like realized that this wasn't working very well and did something, or I don't know. It's just like I don't
Ye-
know if it's like a internet issue with that venue or who knows. But
Yeah. I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't make it through. Um the audio seemed good for a little while, but for me, it that became much like the visuals itself. So I just had to get out of it. I couldn't try
Yeah,
to
yeah, me too.
work
I mean,
through that
it was just
anymore. I
following it on the match day, Detroit City women's match day Twitter feed was about as good as watching it. I gave it a shot, which, and I was looking forward to this game because I figured this was going to be an important game for us, and you know, well, we'll talk about
and
that a
it's
little. We'll touch on that
yeah,
a little
and
bit.
yeah, because I don't want to go in and break things down when there was really nothing to break down since we didn't
Right,
see anything.
right.
Um, but from what I was reading, and I'm sure from what you were reading, it seemed like City was getting their chances. Early on, Kalamazoo seemed like they had a prime opportunity to take the lead that they, ended up sailing wide after a giveaway. I don't know if it was within our own 18 or anything like that, just because, like you said, it was, we were trying to decipher things through a bunch of still images on the screen. Um, but I mean, by all account, it seemed like, you know, yesterday we had a match between the two best teams in the Great Lakes division, which, judging from what we read, what we've heard, it certainly seemed like that was the case, Alan.
Yes, yeah, and I think piecing things together, we look better in the first half, and in the second half, it seems like Kalamazoo kind of picked up their attack and seemed like they had more of the ball in the second half. So it was
Hmm.
a back and forth affair, and how that stayed goalless, I really don't know because there were plenty of shots on both sides.
And
I wish I could see the box scores because I don't know what the total shot count was, but it had to have been a fair amount.
I wonder if that was kind of a reminder of that week two Flint City match where um, Detroit looked very, very good in the first half. But then Flint kind of poured it on a little bit in the second half, pressed a
Seems
little
to be
bit
a theme
more.
for Detroit City
Yeah,
teams this season.
yeah, a theme with city
Yikes!
teams. Um, One thing we really didn't see that with though, Alan, and this is a game that I know we both watched because we were both there, and I was talking with you for a good chunk of the first half. Was that game against the Cleveland Force? Um, I still think that even though I really didn't see a whole lot of the Kalamazoo match, I still think that our best game was the opener against Flint on the road at Atwood. But that game against the Cleveland Force was um one of those games where it was completely one-sided, and it could have been very, very ugly for Cleveland
Oh, absolutely.
if if Detroit was able to, kind of get those floodgates open, because it seemed like we saw they were getting chances, but they weren't getting all of their chances, or they weren't getting everything that they could off of those chances to put it in the back of the net. They finally got a goal. I think it was Sophie Romine who had another banger that night. Um, and they ended up coming away with a 1-0 win. But again, that was one of those games that never seemed close. It never seemed like Cleveland had any real scoring threat. I could think of maybe one scoring threat that they actually had, but the assistant ref ended up putting her flag up. So it was really nothing. But
Right.
to me, that was much of the same that we've seen throughout a good portion of this season so far. Was some good press from the city forwards, and just the midfielders and the defenders just completely shutting everything down from there.
Looking at the lineup. in Kalamazoo. There were a lot of names on there that I don't think had played yet this season. So my first instinct was to that perhaps this was who was available for this midweek travel game.
Yeah.
Some of the people that I would have expected to see on the pitch, just were part of the game day squad. So, uh, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse to have as many players in the pool as we have for the women's team, and it's a good thing. And certainly we've remarked on previously the talent in the pool of available players is higher than it's ever been. But I think sometimes it's a bit of a curse in that uh, developing that familiarity, in terms of like the passing play and all of that comes with that. Uh, that's got to be hard to develop. I mean, you do some of that in training, but that's not really, you know, game day experience. So I hope it's not going to be like an ongoing problem because we've seen that in the past too, in the two previous seasons that uh, this kind of like just filling out slots in the game day squad is not ideal. Ideally, we want to have that core. Of course, we did have some people who are regulars, so I don't want to like overstate this, but uh, let's see what happens Saturday. And now, given that's a home match, hopefully we'll see some familiar faces again. But like the women that were on the bench, I don't think any of them I really recognized. So it's deep, reaching into the pool, I think, a bit.
No, and that's something that I know has been discussed before. It's great to have this large pool of players considering what this team is, the purpose of this team, the purpose really of this league. I mean, it's a summer league. It's a chance for um college players like Avery Peters to, get some time in between playing for the University of Michigan. It's an opportunity for, Lily Jekyll to get more experience, playing different types of competition aside from her youth team, nationals and wherever else she's playing. I have a feeling Lily Jekyll is on like 4 different teams or something right
Oh yeah,
now.
oh, I'm sure.
Um, but that's just the reality. And then you have, some of the older players, the post-college players who still want to play competitive soccer. Like the Megan Miles and Kayla Addisons, Gabby Shrivers, who are also coaches too, and
Right.
it's just that's what this league is. It's not a professional league. It's a short summer league to get players some extra playing time. I mean, we saw, last year Sid Bloomquist come and return to
Oh
the
yeah.
team, who's a professional, who's as professional as they get really with this club, and she was doing it because she had some spare time basically in between her professional stints in Europe. So but yeah, I mean that is a real concern with this club, and I don't know if it's the case with other clubs in the league, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I'd be curious
these
to
large
know how
roster
much
sizes. Yeah,
squad turnover there is, and not
squad
only who's
turnover.
available, but I'm sure for some of the college players, it's managing minutes as well. Because I think the last thing that the college coaches want is one of their starting players to get injured during the summer, and all these coaches have different in terms of training regimes for all these players, and I'm sure that similar to when the men were in a summer league situation. Uh, a lot of times the coaches are kind of like, here's how much I want this player to be used. Not that it's required or anything, but there is some cooperation between the summer league team and the college teams because you want to you want to have availability for their players, right? If you work these players to death during the summer and they're not good to go for the fall, then you don't get those players anymore. So there's that. We're looking at it as supporters. We want to win every single
Sure.
game. But like you said, there's some other things that we have to take into consideration that are objectives for this summer league. Uh, I think it's just because we came out of the gate so strong that we were setting a bar, and I think there's a bit of a disappointment that we didn't seem to dominate Kalamazoo like we dominated Flint. Perhaps Flint is not as good this season as they've been in the past. They've been really good in the past. So, maybe we're, underestimating what Kalamazoo brings, but I guess we'll find out in the return fixture.
Yeah, and this weekend we have an old foe, Ann Arbor, AFC Ann Arbor, or AAAAFFFC Ann Arbor. Um, Ann Arbor is
Are they
coming
gonna have a
off
bus for all
of
their owners to come and see the game? Or perhaps 2 or 3 buses 'cause, there's a lot of them. Or is that
yeah,
still
I was
true?
gonna
I have
say,
no idea. They could have sold all these owners could have, like, said, "We're sick of this," and just sold it to one schmo or something. I don't know.
yeah,
Um,
I have no idea. I have no idea how many owners they have now. All I know is Ann Arbor isn't doing too bad. Currently they have one loss within the division or within the conference. They're coming off a 1-0 loss or 0-1 loss to again another old foe of ours, Midwest United. Other than that, they started out the season with a 1-1 draw against Kalamazoo. They followed that up with a 1-0 win over Kalamazoo. They beat the Cleveland Force 3-1. And then they only got three on Michiana while letting up a goal. It wasn't five,
that's
they only got
shameful.
three. Yeah. So this probably isn't going to be the same Ann Arbor or AFC Ann Arbor squad that we blank them 6-0 at the end of last season, or was that 6-1? I think it was 6-0. Um,
In the pouring rain. I was not
yeah,
at that game, but, I think you were, weren't you?
I was not
Or it
at
was
that game,
Jaime,
no.
Jaime.
Jaime, yeah, Jaime. Well, Jaime lives like what, like two
Yeah, I
doors
think you
down
walked
from.
there, so yeah.
But it certainly doesn't seem like it's going to be, a repeat of what we saw last year. But again, Detroit City seems to be the best team in this division. So I'm, looking ahead to this game. It's a weekend game. It's not a midweek game. So we should have um a full squad or close to a full squad available. Um, we'll probably have, somebody like Lily Jekyll out there once again, you know, playing up top and, being incredibly dangerous. Inside the 18, I'm sure we'll have Sophie Romine and a Crumb. Avery Peters, I'm sure will be back again this weekend as well. Um, if we have all of those players within the starting 11, which we didn't have Kayla last night either, which
Yeah.
she didn't make the trip from what I saw. But Kayla should be back. Like I said, I'm expecting a full squad and I'm expecting a win this weekend against Ann Arbor.
Yep.
And then Garrett, I see in the chats here
Oh, he's
says
taking
10
some
goals
time off from
scored.
his, RIFC, duties, to, shout out
They let him.
to the
Yeah, they
co-host of
let.
the Rhode Island folks.
They let him go for a little bit to. It was so nice of them. So nice of them to let him contribute at least a little bit to his actual real podcast. Um But anyways, do you have any other additional thoughts on the women's side here, Alan?
No, come to the games. You're missing out if you're not.
Absolutely, no excuses heading into this weekend. Those early summer kickoff holidays are over. Nobody should be going on vacation or anything like that. Come down to the women's match this weekend. You know what? Especially for newer City fans, City supporters, Alan, because this is one of those matches that um doesn't have a whole lot of history on the women's side, but has a lot of history when it comes to the club itself.
Oh yeah, that's for
You can
sure.
you can go back and talk to any OG City supporter about these old matchups against Ann Arbor, and I'm sure they'll have a shit ton of stories to tell you. So yeah, definitely get down to Keyworth this weekend. 4 p.m. Saturday. Uh, Detroit City taking on Great Lakes Conference, Great Lakes Division, old rival in AFC Ann Arbor. So, anyways, though, moving on, Alan, we've got the men's side, which hasn't been as joyous these last few weeks. Um, when was our last win? Was it April? Was that our last win
Uh,
over over
it's been a
Oakland?
while. Yeah, I
Yeah. Did the Oakland win come after the Houston Dynamo win? I think it did.
think it had
I
to
think it
have.
did. Yeah. Anyways, and I again, our last win wasn't since last April. Um, Coming off a loss in the Open Cup to Indy 11, coming off of a loss to Louisville, a bad loss to Louisville, 5-0. Were you at that one? You didn't go to that one, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. And then we are coming off a 3-2 loss to Orange County. Um,
The Louisville one. I mean, given our history there, was not a shock, but I expected a little bit more from the Orange County match. That was a bit of a shocker. And again, it was we started strong in the first half, and then it just unraveled in a way that you never really want to see at any level. Uh, and and really the weakest element was our defense, which is just it's not how we've done things.
no.
I mean, even the club put out a video I think today where they were interviewing Dicchio, and he even admitted that the back line, or maybe it was Steven, that things didn't look as good in the back as they needed to be, and so that was, to me, that was almost as bad as Louisville in terms of like just a shock value.
Mhm. And again, you can go and you could look at some of these excuses. What was unfortunate for City is coming off that break, they didn't get any healthier, it seemed like, because coming off that break, all of a sudden, Elvis is still out, and then all of a sudden you have Maxi out too. Um, so you are down 2 key pieces within your attack there. And then you've got to go and manage to, try to put together something against one of the better teams, one of the best teams, arguably the best team in USL Championship in Louisville.
Right.
And
Right.
obviously they come out, 5-0 losers. Um, Maxi comes back against Orange County. Again, though, like you said, the defense continued to, falter a little bit, which is something that we haven't seen in some time. I think that, obviously last year we had instances where, the defense didn't look good. I'm looking at, was that a 5-0 loss to the Rowdies last year, earlier on in the season?
Yeah,
Um,
and it was very surprising. It was really out of not at all how we'd been playing. Uh, what was the other team? I think Tulsa on the road, maybe last season that
yeah,
we struggled. But otherwise, we were just like low scoring games, both ends, and drawing when we should have won and losing when we should have drawn, stuff like that. So to experience these just poundings that we've been getting, uh, yeah, because last season, I think most people would agree that was a poor season for Detroit City, and we didn't really get shellacked like that. Couple
no,
occasions, I feel.
and I don't know what your concern level is. I guess there's still plenty of time in the season left, and we are certainly in a better position than what we were last year. You know, at least we have, we've been scoring some goals. Hey, we got 2 the other night against Orange County. It was more than what we got last year against Orange County. Um, so, the thing that's concerning though is, I know they mentioned it in that recap video that they put out today. That they were, coming off of basically a short week. They had Louisville, and then they had to go back on the road again, go out west and take on Orange County. Which I understand. I understand that there's going to be some difficulties there. That's a tough 2-game trip there, 2-game swing, going and playing one of the best teams in USL Championship, then having to go all the way out west and play Orange County. I get it. It's tough. Um, the problem is that we're coming up on a portion of the year where you're really going to be entering in a grind. Where you're gonna be, what month is it? Is it gonna be this month or next month where we have like, what, like 9 or so games in any one particular month?
Yeah,
So I guess, that's one of
all
the
these
concerning
bye
things.
weeks they catch up with us.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's something that's concerning. I guess I'm not really ready to push any type of panic buttons on any one particular player yet. I know that that was one of our, kind of topics that we were talking about in our WhatsApp chat today. Is, Garrett kind of put something out there, is what are some players that, you're really looking towards right now that needs to have, that you're really going to be paying attention to, that, may need to kind of turn things around. Um, Jaime said Ali Coot, which I kind of agree with him on that one, because
Hmm.
Ali Coote certainly seemed like he was really getting into the play, really getting creative with stuff. Something that, we were maybe going to miss by not bringing back Dario from last season, with that creativity. But Ali seemed every bit of that, plus a little bit more, given his age. Um, However, these past few weeks we really haven't seen that. I think he was out against the Indy 11, so I don't know if he was dealing with a knock or anything like that.
Mm.
But yeah, I would say Ali Coote certainly needs to be one of those guys that, you hope can pick it up here a little bit more. Um, these next few weeks, especially when we start getting into this grind of a schedule that we have coming up.
Yeah, I think the bye weeks didn't do us any good favors. Uh, I think it really disrupted our rhythm, our progress. Now, obviously, with missing some key components, uh, Elvis for sure. The team was kind of built in a certain way those first few weeks that was really working well, and that yeah, I guess it's not a big surprise that with his injury, our attack suffered. Uh, though I think Ben has been playing better. Uh, been really kind of contributing more. Uh, so I think at least in the first few weeks, Allie was drawing a lot of coverage, and it was frustrating his game. But normally, when that happens, it opens up opportunities for other players to get in on the goal. Uh, so I don't know if he's like not playing the game that he wants to play, and it just it seems like his energy level has dipped a little bit. It's a concern because I think coming into the season, we thought that was a great acquisition that was really going to contribute a lot. And for whatever reason, whether it's injury or the system, we're not seeing it.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not ready to push any type of panic button. Again,
Right.
it's we're in early June. I mean, and shit like this is gonna happen too. It's a long season. You're gonna have players go through their ups and downs. It's certainly not. I don't think it's any I don't think it's any surprise that we're seeing this from this city team because, again, I mean, realistically speaking, I didn't think that. I personally didn't think they were going to go out there and just, roll over everybody that they faced week in and week out. Um, I mean, I certainly feel much better about this particular city squad than last year's city squad, but who wouldn't feel, you know, like that with, in comparison to last year's. I mean, last year was a complete mess. But you did mention Elvis, and there was an Elvis sighting, and it wasn't an Elvis sighting at
Was
some
he in the
Denny's
building?
off of 275. Elvis was in the building, it seemed like today. Elvis spotted in training. Um, Picture I saw, he was taking. I mean, he was jumping up and taking a header. So I mean,
Hey.
he's that leg's got to be feeling. I mean, that leg, that groin, has to be feeling, I guess, pretty good if he's doing shit like that. So
Oh, if he's doing five aside right now, then that's that means he's come a long way. So
I
that's
mean,
very promising.
I've heard stuff that he could be ready to go here very very soon. I don't know. I doubt that we'll be seeing him in any starting 11s here these next
Right.
couple of weeks.
I would be
Um,
surprised. Yeah.
if anything, though, I don't know how surprised anybody would be, especially from what we saw today with that training video. If he was at least on the bench, maybe an emergency situation, um, this upcoming Saturday against Rhode Island.
Yeah, I think
I
this
don't
is
think
gonna
that.
be this is gonna tell us something, whether the issues we've seen in the last couple games, 2 or 3 games, whether that's related to the specific circumstances of those games, or do we really have some issues? This it is an away game, so that's gonna be tougher, but, uh, given how Rhode Island has played so far, I like our chances a lot. So if we're not able to kinda succeed against Rhode Island, then we may have to look at some changes, uh,
Yeah,
and rethink some things. But I think at least from Danny's comments, that wouldn't be a shock to state that, and I think they're kinda, like, batting that around too. He said that they had a team meeting with the players and kinda an airing of the views, I guess something along those lines. Uh, so I clearly they know that they're seeing the same things we're seeing, and uh, wanting to get beyond it, and in some ways this is a good game to do that. This isn't against somebody that's been flying high, so this is an
yeah, this
opportunity
is
to get
yeah,
the
absolutely,
train back on the track here.
absolutely, because I don't know. I think that Rhode Island has been one of the bigger disappointments this year based on, the off season they had coming in. Um, maybe not, I mean, maybe that isn't very realistic of me to say. I figured that they would be a little bit better than where they are at right now, just because they only have one win on the season, Alan. Um, and this was a team that had a lot of hype coming in.
Oh yeah,
I think,
they were just gonna like come in blazing, and I
yeah,
think some of
and
us looked at that and said, that's not really how it works.
no, and no, no, absolutely, because we see. I mean, soccer is very much a team game. I mean, it's you need to develop a chemistry and you need to develop a cohesion with each other, and that's how you win. Which I think that was a lot of the problem that City had last year was they couldn't develop that cohesion, they couldn't gel together, and they didn't have that chemistry to have any kind of success transition to the pitch. Rhode Island is kind of seeing that right now. I mean, they're coming off of a 1-1 draw to Hartford. Before that, though, they managed a very nice draw, 0-0 against Louisville.
Hmm.
Um, but like I said, they've only won one game this year, and that was a 2-1 um road win nonetheless against Las Vegas. So again, somewhat of a quality win there. But other than that, they've been it's been either a draw or a loss. They have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine draws
Oh
so far this
wow.
season. And was that wait a second. Was that um okay, never mind. I thought yeah, nine draws so far this season.
Mm.
Which again, it's crazy to think about. And but yeah, I'm with you. They do have some guys. Obviously, Albert Dikwa is who we obviously had to contend with last year with Pittsburgh, but did a nice job shutting them down that final game of the season. So that was certainly nice. They've got Steven Turnbull, who is another guy who has two. Albert Dikwa only has 3 goals on the season so far this year. Their second
That's
leading scorer,
that's
Steven
something.
Turnbull,
Yeah.
um, has 2 goals on the season this year. Um, Clay Holstad leads their FOTMAP rating at 7.35. Um, if you make any type of comparisons to City and what we're doing this year, um, our leading goal scorer is Maxi Rodriguez with 3 goals. But then again, we're typically a team that doesn't score a whole lot of goals. Ben Moore's followed that up with 2, and then Lay Jope also has 2 so far this season. So again, um, 2 teams that don't provide a whole lot of offense. However, you have to figure that Detroit, with normally a pretty shut down defense, you have to figure that they're gonna, do their absolute best to get back to that again this coming weekend. That they can somehow pull out some type of result this weekend against a Rhode Island team that has, for the most part, struggled
So
for the
Garrett asked
majority of
in
the
the
year.
chat, do we try a different formation for Saturday? I I I don't know. Uh I'm not sure what the best way to change that up would be. I think a formation change probably is something we look at after this game. And I'm looking at the back line. It in terms of I'll just come out and say it. Whether Nate needs to sit for a bit, and I don't expect that. I don't expect him to have another rough game because that was very unlike his play. There
Hmm.
was at least 2 or 3 goals that normally he'll pull the rabbit out of his hat and make some saves. So in Orange County, I'm not even gonna speculate, if there's anything beyond just having a bad day at the office. But um, yeah, I no, I think probably we're gonna see a very similar lineup. But kind of like the concern is there, and if if things don't seem to be working yet again, I think we'll start seeing some pieces get moved around.
Yeah, I mean, because it looks like seems like the past couple of weeks, we have kind of rolled with a 4-2-3-1. Um, Again, I don't know. I know Yazid is having a much better season than what he's had in recent, this is probably his best season so far, um, since being up with a USL Championship squad. Um, I don't know if I put a guy like Victor Bizarra or Yazid Matthews up top all alone. Um, I guess I'd feel much better pairing them with somebody up top. Um, as far as Nate goes, I hear you on possibly sit him. The only thing about Nate right now is I don't know if he's hey, I don't know. I just don't know if sitting him is the right thing to do. Obviously, if he goes out and continues to have bad games, my only concern about Nate right now is really playing time. He hasn't had a whole lot of playing time these past, over the course of the past month, just because of time off, and then you had the US Open Cup matches in there. So I'm I guess I'm a little bit more worried to sit him. Coming off of a loss, again, that can be a little bit more nuanced if it's City coming away with, or if City gets trounced once again 4-0, 3-0, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I wouldn't
but
I wouldn't suggest it based on just what the last couple games have shown. But if it's persistent, then that's something that may need to be considered. I mean, it's happened in the past. I remember
sure,
a couple of times where that was helpful to to sit him. But with these bye weeks, I think probably consistent playing time is what everybody needs.
sure.
And this start and stop hasn't really worked for us. And I mean, it helped us get Reese back, but that's about it. Otherwise, it didn't seem to. We didn't see any benefit from the rest. I think it hurt us more than it helped us. I hope we don't have to deal with that again in the future, schedule wise. But uh, well, though, I think that's done now because we're going to have a lot of games, and
Yeah.
5 weeks are a thing of the past at this point.
Um, Predictions for this Saturday
Oh
on
man,
the
that's
women and on the women and on the men's side.
uh, you know, I I think we'll see not a high scoring game for the women, but I think they'll give us a win. 2-1. I don't know how Ann Arbor's doing in terms of they've had some turnovers, so I don't know like who their producers are. In terms of the men in Rhode Island, I want to say 2-0, but I'm thinking that might be wishful thinking. But I think that would be a good kind of place to kind of reset things with a win like that.
Yeah, Garrett's going with the women winning 2-0. I agree with that. I'm gonna go with the women winning 2-0 as well. He said 1-1 for the men. I'm gonna go 2-1 for the men. Winners in that one. I'm gonna say goals coming from Ben Morris and Max Rodriguez. Two top goal scorers coming through again. So Stephen Carroll has a bounce back game. Nate has a bounce back game, makes some good saves late in there to preserve the 2-1 win. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Maybe
Hopefully we
Elvis for 10 minutes at the end,
I
showing
I'm
he's
gonna
ready to
say
go.
I'm gonna say no Elvis
Yeah.
this
Okay.
weekend, but after that, what do we
I
got
think he'll
coming up?
travel with the squad though.
I think he'll travel. After that, oh god, we gotta win this one. We have to win this one because
Oh, the
we have
discourse if we
Charleston.
don't.
We have
Oh
Ch-
my goodness.
we have Charleston at home
Oh.
the following week. So
Uh,
we got to get a win here. We got to get a win here.
yeah,
Um
the point we're not going to get points in that game, so that's going to be a rough
um
one.
yeah, we got that. We've got Rhode Island obviously this weekend, Charleston. I mean, it's not after that we don't have it's not like some type of death march or anything like that. After that, we've got Birmingham
Mhm.
at home. Then we go on the road and take on the Miami FC.
Oh well.
Um
Okay,
so
so
yeah, I'm
there's some
gonna
points down the road that are should be for the taking. Uh,
it's
but I
not
think
going to
this one
be
we need to losing is a habit, winning is a habit. We need to start winning, and that's really what it is. That uh, we just don't want to compound the problems that we've got. Let's resolve them and move forward. And I think if
take
we can
advantage. Yeah.
get a win or two in the next like 3 or 4 games, then I think people will be feeling right at that point. Um, if we lose in Rhode Island, that would seem to indicate some serious issues.
We need that win now, Alan, because again, I'm looking at a schedule like we kind of alluded to it earlier. Late June, we have a game on June 26th at home against Birmingham. June 29th on the road against Miami. Come back on July 6th, have a game against the Rowdies. Um, Following weekend, we host Memphis 901. Friday, July 19th, we go on the road to take on North Carolina. Um, July 27th, we play Sacramento at home,
Mm,
which
that
that's
should be
never going to be
interesting.
easy. Only to turn around on Wednesday to play the Hartford Athletic on the road. And then we come back home on August 3rd
Oh man.
to play Rhode Island again. And then we go play host once again to Pittsburgh. And then we go on the road to Las Vegas on August 10th to play Las Vegas or to play the Lights.
It's gonna be
And
157 degrees there.
yeah.
What
So
what a
get
time to
the
go to Las
yeah,
Vegas. It's like, don't
get
wear
those
anything plastic because 'cause it'll melt.
get those wins in
The
now.
kids are
But
gonna oh, oh, yikes.
yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
and we're playing an international friendly in the midst of all of that.
Oh
So,
yeah, don't forget that. Yeah,
oh, by the way,
don't
we're
forget that
playing a
international
Liga
friendly coming
MX
up,
scheme.
which isn't well, yeah, which still isn't listed on FOTMob, but whatever, it's okay. Um, any final thoughts, Alan, before we close out for the night?
Uh, yeah, I think, you know, I think we're the supporters are kinda feeling it right now. Little bit of concern. Uh, both our squads have had bright starts, and now we're getting into the thick of it. I mean, the women are almost halfway through their schedule, which is just
I know it's
insane.
hard to believe.
And it just seemed like they just started playing. It goes by so quick. That used to be the lifestyle. I mean, that was it. You got 2.5 months, and then boom, you're in the
And
off
that,
season.
yeah.
But
Just
no,
think if we
I,
had
I
a
I I think if we can get some good performances, points aside, if we can get some good performances that we can look at and say, yeah, we can build off of that, then I think that'll do. But really, there's not a lot of slack. It's a longer season for the men. You can make up some points, but it's not easy. It's a lot easier to go down than to go up for some reason. I don't know. Strange gravity we have in football.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Nothing really for me, other than, yeah, you gotta take advantage of these games now.
Shout out to the chat
Especially,
for sticking with this new format here
yeah, it may well, imagine though if we had a Super League team. Is the Super League starting up this fall?
in August.
Yeah, they have the
They're
reversed,
they're using the international calendar, so that
yep, they're using the
everyone's
international.
waiting to see how that goes. These
So
East
can you
Coast
imagine
teams.
at some point though, Alan, we're gonna have a Super League team here coming up. So we're
Oh,
going
you would
to
think, yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering too if we keep the W League team as well. So we would be having the men's season. As soon as that was over, you have an entire Super League season to deal with. Well, not deal with, but manage. Um, and then those winners in Michigan too, that you also have to manage during those Super League seasons. So,
Mm,
um,
we'll
but
be
yeah,
shoveling a lot of snow off of the off the
off that new
off the
stadium.
terraces.
But anyways, though, I don't know. I don't have any Garrett style final thought or anything like that. Other than to make sure you go and pledge for Pride Raiser. NGS.prideraiser.org. If you haven't done that yet, make sure you do it. Um, Again, home goals between the men's and women's team throughout the month of June. Right now, we're at 6 just because that Michiana game that was moved out of the month is still going to be counted. So right now we have 6 because we beat Michiana 5-0 at the end of May there. So we have 6 goals, counting that one, and then the 1 goal that we had against the Cleveland Force last weekend. So again, goes to a great cause. Ruth Ellis Center does a lot of great work for the LGBTQ uh, community, especially the youth community here in the Detroit area. So again, make sure you go and get those pledges in. You could make those pledges up until June 30th. That's when the campaign closes out, and you can make adjustments and everything like that throughout the month as well, based on goals scored and everything like that. If you feel like you need to up your pledge, you can go and do that. If they're scoring much more than you anticipated, and you're not going to be able to afford $60 per goal, you can go ahead and bring that down too. It's all right. But yeah, ngs.pridereiser.org. So, anyways,
All right.
Alan, that's gonna do it. I don't know when we'll be broadcasting again. I'm sure we'll have something after these upcoming matches this weekend, and I'm sure we'll probably have a full show. We have to have a full show sometime next week, I'm assuming. So, um, yeah. Other than that, we'll see you then. Have a good night,
All right.
everybody.
Peace.